Welcome.
Quite nerve-wracking up here. Let me
Yeah,
just
right?
compose myself a minute.
Think about me. I'm a nervous wreck. I mean,
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah, you
I have
look
to
it.
be up here all day.
I was interested in what you said this morning about, this is probably quite a basic question, about the neutrality, the kind of neutral space. Because that, not many people talk about that. And I've heard you mention it on your videos, but I'm never quite sure what to do with it, because this neutral space seems to be, it's so familiar to me. I feel like I've been banging up against the neutral space for 20 years, and nothing is moving beyond that. It's so familiar, I've now got words for it, like the antechamber, or it's like I think it's like the little room before you go in to see the film. And you're waiting in the little dark room, and you've given your ticket to the lady, and you want to go and see the film now, but you're still in the dark room and nothing's happening. So all the things you talk about and all the things I read, I get them. I get a sense of the expansiveness and the intimacy and the fact that there's no Sasha. That story can just drop away, and I can, in this moment, just realize there never was. That was just bits of thought. That was just something happening in a story and a thought. I can get that, and I'm like, and so what? What happens now? And I've been here for so long, Angelo. It's been so many years. I was actually you talk about, this big fear thing coming up. And, I was the lady who came up with the existential fear, I was kind of a bit jealous, because I'm thinking, I want some movement. If I had existential fear, at least I knew something was happening. And it just feels like, no, this neutral, boring, serious place where it's all a bit dour. And I'd rather just go back into the film. I'd rather go back into my story with all its nonsense and its up and downness, because at least something's going on there.
What would you be without this?
Without what?
This frustration with the dourness.
Just expansive thisness. And I can feel the judgment coming in to say, but I've been here before, but this is where I get to.
So the mind does this interesting trick. When you have a sharp mind, and you have a sharp mind,
yeah,
I can just feel it. So it does this trick where it convinces itself of its own intelligence. It takes especially it uses time. It's really good at using time to do this. It's like hypnotic. When you believe in time, it says, oh, here we are again.
Okay.
It claims a lot more space than it actually occupies.
What claims more space, sorry?
The ego. Let's say the ego. The thoughts. But it's not just the thoughts, it's the binding to the thoughts that feel like you, the thinker, because you actually believe what you're telling me. But I want to know who you are that believes that.
Right.
That's where I want to go. I feel the belief in what you're saying. I don't want to discount it, but I want to know who's holding that. Where's the juice, even if the juice for you is that there is no juice. That's your juice. Why? Why hold on to that? But again, the way the ego can play this like time trick on you. Oh, here I am again.
Oh, right.
Here I am again.
Okay.
It primes itself for the next time it can tell you, oh, it's the same thing again. You've been here before. You're not going anywhere.
So it's just that.
Over again. It's believing that thought.
Keeping it.
So what if you just stop believing that thought and just turn around and see what's right there? And what's right there is not your belief about the mundane and neutrality.
Oh yeah, belief's just a thought, isn't it?
Yes. So your idea about what neutrality is a reflection of something you may have tasted a long time ago.
That's just another story.
Yeah, and you may have actually had a real taste of it.
Yeah.
And maybe you get it all the time, and yet it still keeps quickly turning into a story, and it's a story you believe. Something believes it. Something feels like, no, this is
right. Okay, so every time there's a story,
there's
a story.
Yeah, the gentleman that came up earlier, we were talking about the sort of direct experience and non-duality. Well, he was getting at a subtler level of that,
Yeah.
of describing how the mind still wants to turn it into something, still wants to
Okay.
make a paradigm. So you could say that if the most fundamental aspect of what I'm going to call selfing, there's not an ego structure in there. There's not a little homunculus in there called the ego, but there's a processes that go on that
Yeah.
feel damn well like a self, right? So let's call that the selfing mechanism. The most fundamental thing it does is it just goes click, takes a snapshot of the senses. And this moment it takes a snapshot, it tries to turn it into something. It tries to grab the ball and run for the
Say
touchdown.
something about it, tell a story, judge it, whatever.
Turn it
Yeah.
into something, and it'll turn it into what works for you. And this is what works for you: the mundane, the doldrums, and so how to investigate it? Well, in the way we're talking about, really just look into what is it that's holding that story. Why does it feel so real?
Right, so
How do the thoughts convince me of this time span of
right.
it's always been like this? Well, how do you know it's always been? The only thing I have access to right now is this. There's no past here.
So
Is there
actually
a past here?
No.
Nothing like that.
No.
There's nothing like that. It's a letting go again and again and again. And that's the one thing the intelligent mind doesn't want to do. It doesn't want to let go because it's convinced it's got it all figured out. It doesn't, but it thinks it does. And it gets rewarded in the relative world very much. Intelligence is highly rewarded in the sort of social matrix,
Yeah.
usually, if you use it right. If you use it wrong, it's, not so much, but it's rewarded. So we actually trust it and we believe it. But when intelligence tries to understand that which it's structured inside of, which is consciousness, it will never be able to.
How do you know when because if you've got a mind that does that, and I know probably most of us do,
Many people do.
have a mind that is clever, and it knows it's clever, and it kind of makes you think that you're getting it. You kind of, and it, I don't know, it's just so subtle. It's just so subtle, the way it tells you get stuff.
Well, it's not telling you anything. It's telling itself something.
Okay.
The you that thinks it's receiving that information, or that's being bound to that information, or reacting to that information, that's where the money is. To look and see if there's anything actually there at all. And that's what the mind that thinks it knows how things are. And this is just one story. It tells all kinds of stories.
Yeah.
It tells the story that works for you.
Yeah.
It can tell the story, I'm afraid to wake up because I'll abandon my family or something. It tells the story that just works for you in the way your life is structured or whatever. But it doesn't matter what the story is. It matters that you believe it. It matters that something there feels real, feels like this definitely is my story. I'm definitely stuck here. I definitely understand it, whatever it is. So one aspect of this is looking back and trying to see, well, what is it that actually believes that? How does a thought become believed? I can see the one thought in my mind right now. Where's the believer? Where's the thinker? And then a thought might say, oh, well, here we go. We're back in the doldrums. But are we?
Yeah, the thought that comes in then that says, oh, you're not very good at this self-inquiry stuff. Go back to watching some videos because the self-inquiry stuff has never worked for you.
That's good. So that's actually good. So some self-doubt comes in.
Yeah.
And that's important to see as well, that often we have a reaction formation where we identify with intelligence because of some self-doubt that came maybe from earlier in life or something, right? I cling to the known because what I don't know is terrifying. So there's a lot of ways to investigate this, but these are some.
Really cool. That's really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
God, you're good at this, aren't you? Like me. Thank you.
You're welcome.